in the scriptures, there are only two types of truth taught by the Buddha. The first truth is known as Samuti Satya, conventional truth, and the second truth is Paramatha Satya, the ultimate truth. So during the practice of Satipatthana Vipassana meditation, meditators have to realize Paramatha Satya as they really are. In the teaching of Samuti Satya, or conventional truth, here the Buddha said there's a person or a being, an I or you. They do exist in the conventional truth. So we can see various form or shape in the conventional truth. But in the teachings of Paramatha Satya, the ultimate truth, here a being or person such as an I or you doesn't exist. In the teachings of Paramatha Satya, we can only find Nama and Rupa, mentality and physicality, or mentality, materialities. Or in the teaching of Sutanta, the Buddha explained that a person, a being, or such as an I or you, only consists of 5 aggregates of clinging. So as you know, the 5 aggregates of clinging, the first one is Rupa Khanda, or the aggregates of materiality, which is known as Rupa in the teaching Abhidhamma. And the Nama consists of 4 aggregates: feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. So during the practice of Satipatthana Vipassana meditation, meditators have to be mindful of this mental phenomena and physical phenomena, or nama rupa, as they really occur. At the beginning of the practice, meditators could not realize the true natures of Paramatha Dhamma or Paramatha Satya as they really occur. It's because they have not yet developed sharp mindfulness or attentive and precise mindfulness. And they have not yet purified the mind from all kinds of mental hindrances and defilements. So meditators have to put forth virya, effort or mental energy. They need to increase their mental energy gradually, so that their mindfulness shall become more and more attentive, precise, and energetic. And at the beginning of practice, it's not possible to go beyond the conventional truth immediately. Here, conventional truth also refers to concept. Meditators have to, for example, perceive that their abdomen is moving outwards at that moment. Then they can mindful and know it as rising. They perceive that their abdomen is moving inwards at that present moment. Then they can only be mindful and know it as falling. Similarly, during walking meditation, meditators have to perceive. For example, they lift up the heel, then they can only mindful know it as lifting, and so on. So they rely on this concept. For example, the abdomen, or the heel, the foot, and so on. But during the practice mindfulness meditation, meditators should not take note of the concept. Concept means like perceiving that my foot is moving, or my abdomen is moving outwards at that moment. They should not look at the shape of the abdomen and so on. It's because we cannot find any shape or form in the Paramattha Dhamma or Paramattha Satya. In those Paramattha Dhamma or Paramattha Satya, according to the teaching of Abhidhamma, consists only citta, or the mind or consciousness, cittasika, the mental concomitants, and rupa. We cannot find any shape or cannot see any form in this Paramattha Dhamma. So meditators have to understand well that in order to realize the true natures of Nama Rupa clearly, the first thing that meditators have to do is to sharpen their mindfulness, or to strengthen their power of mindfulness. So what's been emphasized here is the mental factor or mental concomitant of sati, of mindfulness. When meditators are able to develop mindfulness constantly and continuously, from one moment to next moment, and they are able to overcome their mental hindrances and other defilements by mindfulness, then meditators shall attain stronger and stronger, or deeper and deeper Khanika Samadhi, momentary concentration. It is also known as Vipassana Samadhi. It's because momentary concentration gives rise to insight knowledge or experiences of Vipassana meditation. In those meditators need to attain a stage of purification known as purification of mind. There are 7 stages of purification. The first stage is purification of morality, or sila visuddhi, and the second stage is purification of mind, citta visuddhi. In other words, during meditation, meditators are able to overcome mental hindrances and other defilements. Then they attain purification of mind. So when they have attained purification of mind, then they begin to gain some experiences of Satipatthana, Vipassana meditation. So in order to purify the mind from mental hindrances and defilements during meditation, Meditators also have to take mental hindrances as an object of mindfulness meditation. For example, when you feel sleepy or you feel sluggishness, then you have to mindful and note this mental hindrance. For example, sleepy. Sometimes you may have to note it somewhat quickly, or sleepy. Sometimes you may need to make a stronger mental noting in order to arouse your mind. The meditators could overcome mental hindrances by being mindful of them as they really occur. Then they will attain this stage of purification of mind. In other words, they attain a strong Vipassana samadhi. Meditators could mindful and note whatever mental state that has appeared in their meditation, or in their walking meditation, sitting meditation, or mindfulness of daily activities. Then they will realize two benefits. They will realize that every mental state is not an everlasting process. Every mental state is subject to arising and passing away. When they can mindful and know every mental state attentively, precisely, or energetically, then mental states, for that thinking or wandering mind, or hindrances such as sleepiness, sluggishness mind, shall become lesser and lesser. Then meditators begins to attain purification of mind. So during the practice of meditation, meditators have to guide their awareness, or direct their awareness to perceive the phenomena. For example, rising movements is a physical phenomenon. Falling movements is another physical phenomenon. You do not focus your mindfulness or attention on the physical abdomen. You focus your attention or awareness on your physical abdomen, then you may not able to perceive or realize the movements clearly. When you mindful of your walking meditation, when you mindful, for example, the lifting movements of the heel, you do not focus your awareness on the heel, but you direct your awareness to perceive the movements. That's why we always have to remind meditators that, for example, during walking meditation, as they are mindful of the movements of feet, left and right, when they have increased their object of walking meditation, for example, lifting, pushing, dropping, we have to remind them that these processes of movements should be perceived or should be realized by the meditators. Similarly, when meditators are mindful, for example, pain or body painful sensation, they need to direct their awareness to perceive the painful sensation itself. They do not focus their attention at the location of the pain. Do you know why we do not have to focus the awareness on the location of the pain? Do you know that pain, body painful sensation, is a physical process or mental process? It is a physical process. Our body cannot sense or cannot feel anything. So is a mind that has the nature or characteristics of knowing or sensing or cognizing. So during meditation, it's always important to be mindful of whatever mental state that has appeared at the present moment. It is because meditation is known as bhavana in Pali. The true sense of bhavana is a mental culture, or to cultivate the mind, to develop the mind. In order to develop wholesome mental factors or the wholesome mental concomitants in the mind. We emphasize the importance of mindful mind is because we want to attain liberation of mind, or citta vimutti. We can never attain liberation of body, kaya vimutti. So that's why the teachings of the Buddha is known as the doctrine of the mind. Doctrine of the mind. But if there's no mental states, then meditators have to be mindful of their physical phenomena or body sensation attentively or precisely and energetically. If their mindfulness is not attentive, is not precise and energetically, then the mind will be wandering frequently. Or in other words, then there will be many thinkings or thoughts processes arising one after another and so on. So it's important to be mindful of your physical phenomena and body sensation or attentively, precisely. And during this meditation, as long as the mindfulness is not as strong, and meditators have not attained khanika samadhi, momentary concentration, then they have to make use a tool that is known as mental labeling. In other words, you have to make mental labeling whenever you are mindful of any phenomenon. But meditators have to make use of the tool or the mental labeling wisely. If meditators did not make use of the mental labeling wisely, then it can hinder their progress of mindfulness. For example, sometimes meditators make mental noting in their walking meditation. They note quite frequently, lifting, pushing. Then they realize that their awareness or mindfulness always stay with the note labeling. It doesn't go to the movements. It doesn't mindful the movements, but staying with the labeling. In that way, meditators will not make progress in their practice of mindfulness. It's because labeling is a concept. When you note lifting is a word, it's merely a concept. It's not Paramatha Dhamma, ultimate reality. The labeling is to help meditators to perceive or to experience, to pay attention closely to that phenomenon in order to fully experience the process of that phenomenon. So for example, when you're mindful of the process of lifting movements or pushing movements, first you must perceive that the movement has started. Then you can only make mental noting or labeling. If the movement has not started, it's not possible to make mental noting. So you must understand clearly why meditators can make a mental noting or labeling. Do you know why? You must perceive or you must have sensed the object has appeared by itself, and the object has not disappeared. That's why you can make a mental labeling. If the object had disappeared, then it's not possible to make a mental labeling. So sometimes meditators could not make mental labeling. For example, be mindful of the dropping movements of their foot during walking. Sometimes they are about to note it as a dropping, but at the times they have sensed the touching of their foot with the floor, then they should not note dropping anymore. Meditators have to understand that they can make mental noting or labeling because the object has appeared at that moment and not disappear. So it's important to perceive the object well, then meditators can make a mental noting. For example, you're mindful of lifting movements or pushing movements. You perceive the pushing movements clearly, then you only make a mental noting pushing. If meditators couldn't perceive the object clearly, then they cannot make a mental noting or labeling. When meditators could perceive every process of any phenomenon better and better, then their mindfulness shall become stronger and stronger. This meditation, mindfulness meditation, is also explained as an experiential meditation. Experiential meditations is because meditators have to realize the true natures of mental phenomena and physical phenomena, Nama and Rupa, through personal experience or direct experience. Even though you have the knowledge that every phenomenon is anicca, impermanence, dukkha, unsatisfactory, anatta, or not self, or non-self. Even you know these characteristics of phenomena by hearing from others or by reading the book. But that knowledge is not gained from your personal experience. So the knowledge that is not gained from your personal experience will not help you to overcome your defilements. The most can help you to overcome only little bit of your defilements. So that's why the Buddha said his teaching Dhamma can only be realized through direct experience or personal experience. Or sometimes the scripture use the word direct knowledge. So during meditation, meditators have to put aside whatever preconceptions or preconceived ideas that they have about this meditation. Then they have to put aside whatever experiences that they have gained in their previous retreats. If meditators meditate with some preconceived idea or with some theories or not own idea, or they have the desire to gain back the same experiences that they gained in the that they have gained in the past retreats, they may not able to mindful of whatever phenomenon that has occurred or has appeared at the present moment. So, when meditators mindful of any object, for example, pain, they have to pay attention to that painful sensation. Let the mind fully experience the process of pain. You do not add in more words or concept into your mindfulness of that painful sensation. For example, in this meditation, we do not analyze what type of pain that meditators felt at the time. For example, sometimes some meditators mindful of pain and try to make a distinction of the pain. For example, cutting pain, piercing pain, or pain as if being beaten by the ants, and so on. If meditators start to make such distinction, then they have to analyze their feeling of that pains, or they have to think about the name, or give a concept of what type of pain. But when we mindful of pain, we just want to realize the true nature of pain. The true nature of pain, in the verse, it also subject to arising and passing away, and is merely an experience of an undesirable object. Do you desire any kind of pains? For example, do you desire to experience cutting pain, piercing pain, and so on? Sometimes some meditators look at the pain in this way. Then they may know many different types of pain, but the scriptures only explain that the characteristic of pain is merely an experience of undesirable object. So meditators have to know pain precisely, or pain. Then sometimes meditators also need to be able to perceive their state of mind while mindful and note the pain. For example, the feeling of dislike, or desire to move, or desire to stop the sitting meditation, or there's a expecting the pain will go away as soon as possible. But meditators should not purposely doing what they call checking their state of mind. It's not possible to check your mind. In strictly speaking, from the practical aspect of the, from the view of the practice, we have only one mind happening at each moment. There are no two different minds happening at the same moment. For example, if you want to check your mind, is my mind calm while mindful and note this pain? Actually, if you have good mindfulness, the good mindfulness you note checking. There's no another mind staying somewhere for you to do checking. Because it's mentioned clearly in the teaching, we have only one mind, or one mental state will happen at each moment. So sometimes meditators do checking. Actually, if they know the practice, it's not possible. But what they call checking is, maybe we can say like reflecting, recalling how was my mind reacting to the pain when I was noting the pain. But that reflecting is not mindfulness. It causes disruption to the continuity of mindfulness. So meditators, when they keep on practicing, they may know their mind better and better. At first, they do not know their mind. For example, the mind is thinking of something, or the mind has gone to somewhere while they are noting like rising, falling, lifting, pushing, dropping. But the mind has gone to somewhere, but they are still taking note, lifting, pushing, dropping. This is because they do not know their mind so well. In order to be able to mindful and note your mind and mental state well, according to teaching and commentaries, meditators first must be able to mindful of their physical phenomena clearly. If you cannot mindful of a physical phenomena clearly, then you can't see your mind so clear. What are the physical phenomena? Rupa. Rupa consists of four primary material elements: the earth element, the water element, the fire element, and the wind element. But according to teaching of Abhidhamma, meditators can only sense directly three of the elements. We can only sense directly three of the material elements. They are earth elements, fire element, and wind element. But we can never sense directly the water elements. You can find out, or you can read the teaching of Abhidhamma, such as the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma, or the commentaries, for example, Visuddhimagga. We cannot really sense water element directly, but we can infer from our mindfulness of any material phenomenon, because every material phenomenon or physical phenomenon consists of four primary material elements, but we cannot mindful for all the four at the same moment. We can only mindful one of them. Whichever has elements that has manifested strongly, then you can mindful and know it. So according to the teaching of Abhidhamma, this water elements is manifested as a cohesion. It means it's because of these water elements, all these four elements can be held together. They will not be scattered. For example, you will touch, you put your finger inside this cup. What are you going to feel? If the water is hot, then you become aware of the heat, fire element. It's not really water being perceived by you. You may read the Abhidhamma or the Visuddhimagga about this explanation. So, according to the teaching, even like Mahasi Sayadaw explained in his book, we can only sense directly these three material elements. In Pali they call Potappa Rupa. Potappa means you can sense directly because it's arising within your body. That's why you can sense directly. So only meditators can mindful of the nature. Here means the specific characteristics of the material elements, earth element, fire element, and wind element clearer and clearer. Then they begin to see clearly their mental state, and then their consciousness. These material elements are more obvious than mental phenomena, or material phenomena are more conspicuous than mental phenomena. In other words, we can sense the material phenomena easier than sensing or noticing the mental phenomena, especially the consciousness. So during meditation, meditators have to mindful one element. Whenever they're mindful of their body phenomena, they have to mindful one element at each moment. So as you know, the earth element has the characteristics of hardness or softness. But you cannot find this characteristic of hardness and softness in wind element or fire element. That's why it's known as individual characteristics of the elements or sabhava lakhana. And the fire element is a heat, but usually we may experience it as a hot and cold, hot and cold. And the wind element, the characteristic of wind element is movements. It also includes vibration and the nature support. When we mindful of the sitting postures, and when we are mindful of standing postures during walking meditation, we mindful note sitting, or standing. Meditators have to realize the nature support. But as long as meditators have not developed sharp mindfulness and strong Vipassana samadhi, they cannot experience the nature of support clearly. They should not purposely search for that experience or look for that feeling of support. In the practice mindfulness meditation, meditators should not search for something or look for something or try to create something. For example, sometimes meditators take a stronger breath in order to perceive a clearer movement abdomens. This is not correct. This is again the practice. It's because in the practice of mindfulness meditation, when we realize the true natures of mental physical phenomena, we can say that we realize them as a natural process. It's a natural process. There's no atta or person or being or yogi behind the process of any phenomenon. For example, the arising and passing away of any phenomenon. And you practice better, you realize that the arising of your awareness of mindfulness is also a natural process. That's when you can see the relationship between your nama rupa clearly. But before meditators can see the relationship of nama rupa clearly, first of all, they must realize the specific characteristics of the mental phenomena and physical phenomena clearly, or in Pali, sabhava lakhana of mental and physical phenomena. So it's not enough to be able to perceive the movements clearly. In this meditation, sometimes meditators might be mindful and note many different process movements. For example, during walking meditation, you have to mindful of your movements from the left and right, lifting, pushing, dropping, standing, turning. All these movements and the standing postures, what the meditators are mindful of them, they have to realize clearly the specific characteristics or the individual characteristics of the wind element. When you're mindful of your daily routine activities, you may mindful of many different poses movements, bending of your arms, stretching, sitting down, standing up. When you walk outside the meditation hall from one place to another place, you are still mindful of the poses movements such as lifting left and right and so on. So if meditators could develop more attentive and precise mindfulness, then they can perceive the movements clearer and clearer. When that's why in this meditation, if meditators could develop more attentive and precise mindfulness, they begin to see clearly Paramatha Dhamma, or the ultimate truth, or Paramatha Satya. They find that they could not sense, for example, the body form. So in this meditation, it's not possible to do, for example, the scanning of the body. You do the scanning body, actually you just merely be aware of the concept, your body form. But in meditation, in the ultimalities, the Buddha said there are only this Nama Rupa. There's no physical body or arms, legs, and so on. Because this physical body, in the teaching of a Paramatha Satya or Paramatha Dhamma, is merely consists of Nama Rupa. But as long as meditators have not developed attentive and precise mindfulness, and have not attained purification of mind, they cannot realize clearly the true natures of these physical phenomena, for example, the movements. When meditators are able to mindful of various process of movements clearer and clearer, then they also shall be able to mindful and experience the other two elements, earth element and fire elements, clearer and clearer. So when you can see or realize the individual characteristics of the material elements clearer and clearer, you also begin to see clearly your mental state and your consciousness. That's why this meditation, we begin with the material elements, but we should not ignore mental phenomena. Whenever any of these mental phenomena has appeared at a time. And we always emphasize the importance of mindful of mental phenomena. For example, if meditators feel sleepy, or the mind is restless, and they did not mindful of this mental phenomena, sleepiness or restlessness, they want to continue the mindful, for example, the movement of abdomens during sitting meditation. They cannot perceive the movement clearly because sleepiness, restlessness of mind are hindrances. They hinder the progress of mindfulness. They hinder the mindfulness to see clearly other phenomena. So that's why meditators have to deal with their mind first. Meditators, for example, realize the mind's thinking, then they bring the mind back to the movement of abdomens. Then they are not practicing the way of the four foundation of mindfulness. They practice mindfulness in the way of samatha meditation. You practice samatha meditation, for example, you realize the mind's thinking, you bring the mind back, and concentrate on your object of concentration again. Or in other words, you ignore other phenomena totally. It's because in the practice of a samatha meditation, meditators aim to develop deeper and deeper concentration, and sometimes based on deeper and deeper concentration, if they are interested, they may make aspiration to develop some psychic power and so on. But they possess the psychic power, they are not yet free from this samsara, the cycle of birth and death. But in the practice of Satipatthana Vipassana meditation, meditators want to realize the true natures of mental and physical phenomena so that they can overcome their mental defilements eventually. So when meditators could realize the true natures of material elements clearly, then they also begin to see their awareness or consciousness of knowing clearly. So they may be able to realize that whenever there's an object or phenomenon has appeared at that moment, then awareness or consciousness of knowing will appear instantly. Sometimes meditators feel that both processes as if appear at the same moment. As long as meditators have not yet realized the individual characteristics of the material elements clearly, they may not be able to see or to realize the arising of their awareness or consciousness of knowing clearly. For example, if you mindful of these material elements, movements, or hot, or heaviness, hardness, and so on. Let's say you can only see clearly, you can only see 50% of their clarity, only see 50%, then maybe you can only perceive your mental states or consciousness also 50% clearly, not completely clear. So when meditators can see the individual characteristics of material elements clearly, then the arising awareness, or sometimes we refer to the conscious of knowing, also shall be perceived clearly by the meditators. Then at that time, meditators will realize that at that moment, it's only a pair of processes. One process, for example, is the movements. So meditators only perceive movements as movements. And there's a process of awareness, or the consciousness of knowing these movements. If meditators could see clearly the arising of their awareness and could realize clearly the individual characteristics of material elements, they also begin to realize the relationship between the consciousness of knowing or their awareness and the material elements or the material phenomena. So do you know what's the relationship between your awareness or conscious knowing and the material elements? Can your awareness or consciousness of knowing arise without any material phenomenon? Our mind cannot arise by itself. This is explained clearly, even in the scriptures. There are certain discourses that you can study, um, in order to understand well the practice of Satipatthana meditation. For example, in the Samyutta Nikaya, or one of the 5 Nikayas, you can read the Nidana Samyutta. Nidana Samyutta is about the teaching of the dependent origination or conditionality. You can read, for example, Kanda Samyutta and so on. Then you will have experience of a Vipassana meditation. Then you know that your experience is in accordance with these discourses. So consciousness cannot arise by itself. Similarly, material phenomena also cannot arise by themselves. For example, movements cannot happen by itself. Sometimes meditators might be thinking that my body moves by itself. Actually, our body cannot move without the mind. The mind here means cetana, or desire or intention to move. So we will, during the practice of mindfulness meditation, for example, when you are mindful of the movements of rising or falling, then a strong painful sensation has appeared suddenly. Then what will happen at the time? You will sense the pain immediately, isn't it? Because the mind has noticed that pain immediately. So actually your awareness has gone there, has appeared there. You do not have to bring your awareness from rising movements, bring from there in order to note that pain. It's not so correct in the practice. Awareness or mind can arise because there's a condition or cause. For example, sometimes meditators are mindful of movements of rising or falling. Then they realize that the mind is thinking of something, but they think that their mindfulness is still following the processes of rising and falling. This is because their mindfulness is not active, or sometimes some meditators control their awareness strongly. So they think that awareness or mindfulness belong to them. That's why they can control there, keep it there. But you will understand the teaching well. Even sati is one of the mental concomitants, cetasika or in Pali, and sati is included in the category of beautiful mental concomitants. Sati also has the nature of anicca, dukkha, anatta. One of the meaning of anatta, I believe you understand well. Do you know one of the meaning of anatta? As far as I know, many meditators that I have met, they always have the understanding that anatta is beyond control. But that understanding is not yet thorough, is not complete. There are more deeper meaning than beyond control. But you may experience at the beginning of the practice, when you have some progress, you may feel that your mind or awareness will go to the object by itself. For example, pain. And then, if your mindfulness is alert and active, when you're mindful of rising movements, at the moment that you come to know there's thinking, actually the awareness no longer stays with the movement rising. The awareness, you notice that thinking appear there. If your awareness is very precise, sharp, the thinking may disappear instantly. Or sometimes the thinking is quite strong, then you may have to start to note thinking. When you know thinking, you have to be very careful. Sometimes meditators might note any mental state as for example thinking, planning, and so on. They become aware of the noting, the word thinking or planning. When they become aware of that noting or that label, most likely thinking will be disappear at that time. But meditators, in actual fact, did not really mindful of the passing away thinking. They merely turning their attention to the noting. So that mental noting replace the thinking. So in that way, meditators also cannot make much progress in their mindfulness. But mindful of thinking or any mental states require meditators to develop sharper and stronger mindfulness. So sometimes your mindfulness is not precise. You become aware of the noting and thinking had gone, then you quickly mindful of the next phenomenon. It's not possible to recall back the thinking in order to know it precisely. So when meditators could see clearly the individual characteristics of material elements and the mental phenomena clearly, they also realize their relationship in terms of the cause and effect. At the beginning, you cannot see clearly. It seems that you have to direct your awareness to the object, for example, the basic object. You do not direct your awareness to perceive the movements of the abdomen, then the mind will wander very soon or fall into sleepiness. You need to direct. We can explain from another angle. At the beginning of practice, your mind doesn't know his work or her work. Isn't it? Meditation is mental work, not physical work. You sit down quietly, without mindful, you seem like very calm, peaceful, sitting upright. But your mind stays quiet. You are actually not meditating. But in meditation, your mind has to work, doesn't stay quiet. So at the beginning, your mind doesn't know this work, this very meritorious work. There's to develop mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. So you need to direct your mind, train your mind. So that's why Bhavana is known as mental training or mental culture, mental development. You train your mind, you cultivate your mind, so that your mind, you have this what called mental culture. Mental culture. So you need to direct your mind, for example, to perceive the rising, falling. When you direct your mind to perceive the rising movements or falling movements, if you cannot perceive any movements or the movement is not clear at all, then you do not have to force your mind to stay there. You can quickly direct your awareness to the other two basic objects, sitting, and you choose two clear contacts and note one by one, touching, sitting. So in other words, you have to, when you direct your mind to the object, in other words, you are feeding your mind with object, as if you give object to your mind to work. If you do not give object to your mind to work, your mind could stay lazy or stay quiet, or the mind will start to engage in daydreamings and so on. But as you mindful note sitting, touching, or rising, falling, suddenly you sense a strong object, for example, pain. When you have sensed a strong object, then you quickly follow your mind and note that object, for example, pain. Or when you feel itchy, you note itchy, and so on. So you begin to realize that the mind has the nature of noticing the object by itself. In fact, when we stay in the present moment, the mind will notice the physical movement quite easily. Or when we bend down or straighten up, that movements we can say arouses your attention, arouses your mind. But at the beginning practice, you may not be able to see clearly the relationship between these elements, physical phenomena, and your mind. Then if you practice better and better, then you only see, for example, the relationship between the mind and the body in your walking meditation and daily activities. So there's a time you can see the arising of intention clearly. If you meditators have not yet developed strong Kanika Samadhi or Vipassana Samadhi, and have not yet seen clearly the specific characteristics of the material elements and the awareness, they may not be able to see the arising of the intention clearly. So if meditators could not see the intention, by right they should not make a mental noting. Sometimes meditators did not see the intention, but merely say in the mind, intending. Actually, this noting, sometimes I call it like noting blindly. You did not see, merely say in your mind, then you cannot see the truth. So in the chanting book, there's a discourse on Arya Vohara, the speech of the noble ones, and Anarya Vohara, the speech of ignoble ones. The speech of noble ones means seeing, they say seeing. Not seeing, they say not seeing. But now you as meditators, you want to see the truth, but you do not see the intention, yet you mentally say intending. Then you may not be able to see the real truth. You merely create an object in your mind. The object actually is the mental noting, intending. You become aware of the label, not the ultimate reality. Ultimate reality is the mental state of intention, but sometimes meditators cannot see it, merely make a mental noting, intending. Then they become aware of the label, the words, not the ultimate realities. So although some meditators could purposely add in the intention before every process movements, they may be able to develop better concentration, but not clear realizations of insight meditation. So meditators have to realize that if they want to see the three common characteristics clearly, the word Vipassana means Passana means realization or right understanding gained through personal experience or direct experience. V usually refers to the three common characteristics of mental and physical phenomena. So if they want to realize clearly the three common characteristics of mental and physical phenomena, first of all, they have to realize their individual characteristics clearly and their relationship between Nama and Rupa clearly. Then they only begins to develop what we call Vipassana knowledge. So sometimes some meditators may be able to see clearly the passing away of rising movements, of the abdomen or falling movements, of the pain and so on. They may not be able to realize the passing away of their awareness or consciousness clearly because they have not yet realized what we call conditionality clearly. So meditators, as some meditators have not yet realized conditionality clearly, they will not see anicca, dukkha, anatta completely. They may see the arising passing away of the object, but they may not able to see clearly the arising and passing away of their awareness, or in the scripture refer to consciousness of knowing. Meditators, if they want to gain clearer and clearer Vipassana knowledge, first of all, they have to develop deeper and deeper Vipassana Samadhi, and able to realize the individual characteristics or Sabhava Lakkhana in Pali of material elements or physical phenomena, Rupa and Nama, and able to see their relationship clearly. Then they only realize anicca, dukkha, anatta clearly. When you see, and we only can realize what called conditionality clearly by being mindful any object is arising at that present moment. We cannot gain the knowledge of conditionality by watching any object in the past or object phenomenon that had passed away. We cannot realize the knowledge of conditionality by being mindful any object that has not appeared. We can only realize this knowledge of conditionality by being mindful what is arising at this very present moment. So that's why we always remind meditators to stay in this present moment. So I wish all meditators shall be heedful. The word heedful means apamada. In fact, the word apamada also implies one who is always mindful. So wish all meditators always be heedful, be mindful, so that they could realize the Sabhava Lakkhanas of Nama Rupa clearly, and able to see their relationship in terms of a condition, and eventually able to develop stronger and stronger knowledge of Vipassana meditation, and able to overcome their mental defilements eventually, and able to be liberated from this samsara, the cycle of birth and death, and attain enlightenment.